wasn't looking for a global power network when I started mapping Egyptian obelisks. I was researching Roman conquest, trophy collecting, the standard academic explanations for why 13 ancient Egyptian monuments ended up in Rome, more than Egypt itself has. But then I noticed something strange about the distribution. These aren't random. They're not scattered haphazardly across Europe like war trophies usually are. They're positioned in major cities, strategic locations. Let me be specific about where they are. Rome has 13 ancient Egyptian obelisks. The Vatican obelisk in St. Peter's Square, standing there since 37 AD. The Lateran obelisk, the tallest standing ancient Egyptian obelisk in the world at 105 feet. The Flaminio obelisk in Piazza del Popolo. The obelisk in front of the Pantheon. 13 of them positioned at key intersections, major piazzas, important landmarks throughout the city. Paris has the Luxor obelisk, 23 meters tall, weighing 250 tons, positioned at the exact center of the Place de la Concorde, one of the most important public squares in Paris. The Eiffel Tower in the background, millions of tourists walking past it every year. Most don't know it's Egyptian. Most don't question why it's there. The other Luxor obelisk still stands at Luxor Temple in Egypt. They were a pair. One stayed, one traveled. London has Cleopatra's Needle on the Thames Embankment. New York has its twin in Central Park. Both originally stood in Heliopolis, the ancient Egyptian city of the sun. Both were moved to Alexandria by the Romans. Both stood there for nearly 2,000 years. Then, in the 1800s, both were given as diplomatic gifts and transported across oceans to be erected in two of the world's most powerful cities. Istanbul has the obelisk of Theodosius in the old Hippodrome. Constantinople, the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire, another strategic location. 28 to 30 ancient Egyptian obelisks total. And here's what makes them so remarkable. These aren't assembled structures. Each one is a single block of red granite from Aswan, over 500 miles south of Giza. A single piece, no joints, no seams, just one continuous piece of stone. Some are over 100 feet tall. The Lateran obelisk in Rome weighs an estimated 455 tons. That's almost 1 million pounds. Carved with hieroglyphs, transported hundreds or thousands of miles, erected in public squares with Bronze Age technology. The engineering required is staggering. Moving a 455-ton monolith across the Mediterranean on a wooden ship, landing it safely, transporting it through city streets, lifting it vertical without modern cranes or hydraulics. The Romans did this multiple times. They lost ships trying. Men died. But they kept doing it. Why? And they're positioned in every major power center, every important city, every strategic location across the ancient and modern world. Rome, Paris, London, New York, Istanbul, Constantinople, the seats of empires, the centers of trade and commerce, the focal points of human civilization. But almost none remain in Egypt itself. The official story is simple. Romans took them as symbols of conquest. Modern nations received them as diplomatic gifts, decorations, monuments to power and empire. But when you map them out, when you actually see where they are, the trophy explanation starts to fall apart. Because in 2018, something happened that changed everything. A team of physicists from ITMO University in Russia and the Laserzentrum Hanover in Germany published a study in the Journal of Applied Physics, peer-reviewed. Mainstream Science, one of the most respected physics journals in the world. They were investigating how the Great Pyramid of Giza interacts with electromagnetic energy, not scattered throughout the structure, in 3 specific locations: the King's Chamber, the Queen's Chamber, and the area directly beneath the base. This isn't speculation. This is published research in one of the world's most respected physics journals. They modeled the pyramid's interaction with radio waves between 200 and 600 meters wavelength. They calculated the extinction cross-section, which measures how much electromagnetic energy gets absorbed or scattered. And they mapped the electromagnetic field distribution inside the structure using numerical simulations and analytical methods. The results were clear. The pyramid acts like a lens. It focuses energy. It concentrates it in those chambers. Under resonance conditions, electromagnetic energy accumulates in the King's Chamber, in the Queen's Chamber, and beneath the base. The King's Chamber is built entirely of red granite, not limestone like most of the pyramid. Granite, 43 massive beams above it, arranged in 5 layers, each beam weighing up to 70 tons, all granite. And granite contains quartz crystals. This matters because quartz has a property called the piezoelectric effect. When you apply mechanical stress to quartz, it generates an electrical charge. When you apply electrical charge to quartz, it vibrates at a precise frequency. This isn't ancient mystery. This is modern electronics. Your watch uses it to keep time. Microphones use it to convert sound waves into electrical signals. Speakers use it to convert electrical signals back into sound. The piezoelectric effect is everywhere in modern technology. The king's chamber is filled with 43 beams of quartz-bearing granite positioned above a chamber that, according to peer-reviewed science published in 2018, concentrates electromagnetic energy under resonance conditions. That's not speculation, that's physics. Now let me show you something that's been bothering me for years. In 1998, 20 years before that Russian study, a mechanical engineer named Christopher Dunn published a book called The Giza Power Plant: Technologies of Ancient Egypt. Dunn wasn't an archaeologist, he wasn't a conspiracy theorist, he was a master craftsman with 35 years of experience in precision manufacturing, aerospace, high-tech machining, laser operations. He worked his way up from apprentice machinist to operations manager in high-tech aerospace manufacturing. He understood tolerances, precision. What's possible with different tools and technologies? And when he examined the Great Pyramid, he saw something archaeologists missed. He saw machine marks, evidence of advanced machining techniques, core drill holes showing spiral groove patterns that shouldn't exist with primitive tools. The precision wasn't construction level, it was manufacturing level, the kind of tolerances you'd find in aerospace components, not ancient monuments. He measured everything, the symmetry, the angles, the stone joints, and what he found disturbed him. This level of precision shouldn't be possible with the technology Egyptologists claim was used. He looked at the Great Pyramid the way an engineer looks at a machine, and his conclusion was radical. The pyramid wasn't a tomb, it was a power plant, or a device designed to harness the Earth's vibrational energy, to use seismic vibrations traveling through bedrock, and to convert those vibrations into usable power using the piezoelectric properties of the granite. When Dunn published this theory in 1998, mainstream archaeology dismissed it completely. Pseudoscience, fringe speculation, impossible, not worth serious consideration. But the 2018 Russian study proved he was right about one critical thing. The pyramid does concentrate electromagnetic energy, exactly where Dunn predicted it would 2 decades earlier. In the king's chamber, the queen's chamber, beneath the base. The 2018 study confirmed the pyramid interacts with electromagnetic fields in precisely the way Dunn's power plant theory required. That doesn't prove the entire theory. But it proves the pyramid interacts with energy in a way that's not random, in a way that suggests design, purpose, technical function. And the precision supports this. The Great Pyramid's base is level to within 7/8 of an inch across 13 acres. That's about 9 football fields, level to within 7/8 of an inch. The outer casing stones, most of which are gone now, were cut to within 1/100th of an inch, fitted together with gaps of 125th of an inch, thinner than a sheet of paper, bonded with cement so strong that the joint is stronger than the limestone itself. This is machining level precision, not construction. Machining, the kind of tolerances you see in aerospace manufacturing, not in ancient building projects. And no tools have ever been found that could achieve this. Mainstream Egyptology says they used copper chisels and stone hammers, dolerite pounders, rope and wooden sledges, but copper is soft. Mohs hardness scale. Copper is 2.5 to 3. Granite is 6 to 7. You can't cut granite with copper. You certainly can't cut it to hundredths of an inch precision with copper chisels and stone hammers, unless they had something else, different knowledge, a different approach entirely. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Nikola Tesla tried to build exactly this system in 1901. He called it the World Wireless System, a global network for transmitting electrical power and information without wires, using the Earth and the ionosphere as conductors. Exactly what the pyramids and obelisks would have required. In 1899, Tesla built a laboratory in Colorado Springs specifically to test wireless power transmission. He chose Colorado for its high elevation and frequent lightning storms. He believed he could harness the Earth's natural electrical properties to transmit power wirelessly over long distances. He constructed a massive coil, 142 feet tall with a copper sphere on top. He could generate electrical arcs that shot hundreds of feet into the air, visible from miles, artificial lightning. And he claimed he successfully lit electric light bulbs, placed in the ground at a distance from his laboratory, using the Earth itself as the conductor. No wires, just the ground connection and the Earth conducting the electricity. He filed patent number 645,576 in September 1897 describing the system. The patent explicitly acknowledged the feasibility of using the lower atmospheric strata and the Earth itself to conduct electrical currents wirelessly. In 1901, one of the richest men in America, financiers J.P. Morgan, invested $150,000 in Tesla's vision. That's equivalent to about $5 million today. Morgan funded the construction of the Wardenclyffe Tower on Long Island, New York. The tower stood 187 feet tall. It had a 68-foot copper dome on top. and beneath it, an extensive underground network of iron rods and copper plates extending 300 feet into the Earth. Deep ground connection. Exactly what you'd need to use the planet as a conductor. Tesla's goal was wireless power transmission, free energy, accessible to anyone, anywhere on the planet, using the Earth as a giant conductor. No power lines, no meters, no control. And that's where the problem started. Morgan realized something fundamental. If electricity could be transmitted wirelessly to everyone, anywhere, how do you charge for it? How do you control it? How do you monetize free energy that anyone can access just by putting up a receiver? You can't. Free energy destroys the business model. It eliminates scarcity. It removes control. Morgan withdrew his funding in 1906. Tesla couldn't find other investors. Nobody wanted to fund technology that couldn't be monetized. The Wardenclyffe Tower was never completed. It sat there unfinished on Long Island for years, a monument to a future that almost happened. In 1917, during World War I, it was demolished for scrap metal to pay Tesla's debts. 187 feet of revolutionary technology reduced to salvage. The underground network was abandoned, left buried beneath the ground. Tesla spent the rest of his life trying to revive the project. He pitched it to every industrialist, every government, every potential investor who would listen. Nobody funded it. Nobody wanted free energy. He died in 1943 in room 3327 of the Hotel New Yorker, 86 years old, poor, alone, still believing wireless power transmission was possible, still insisting he'd proven it worked. Within hours of his death, the FBI seized all his papers, his research, his notes, his designs, everything related to wireless power transmission. They classified it. Some was eventually released decades later. Some remains classified. And that technology, that system Tesla spent his life trying to build, disappeared from serious scientific consideration for 70 years, until 2007. That's when MIT demonstrated Witricity, wireless electricity transmission using resonant magnetic coupling. They powered a 60-watt light bulb from 7 feet away with 40% efficiency. The technology works. It's real. We're using it in wireless phone chargers right now. We're reinventing what Tesla tried to build in 1901, 60 years after he died believing he'd failed, 70 years after wireless power was deemed impossible. What if Tesla was reinventing something even older? Now think about this. The Great Pyramid concentrates electromagnetic energy in specific chambers, proven by peer-reviewed science in 2018. The pyramid is built from granite containing piezoelectric quartz crystals. Geological fact. Nikola Tesla demonstrated that wireless power transmission using the Earth as a conductor is theoretically possible. Documented experiments from 1899 to 1901. Tesla's system was shut down not because it didn't work, but because it worked too well, because free energy destroys the profit model. And there are 28 ancient Egyptian obelisks made of the same piezoelectric granite, positioned in strategic locations around the world. What if they weren't decorations? What if they were receivers? Think about the design. Obelisks are made of red granite from Aswan, the same material as the king's chamber, the same piezoelectric properties. They're tall, vertical, pointed at the top. Designed, the ancient Egyptians said, to capture the rays of the sun, god Ra, to connect heaven and earth, to interact with atmospheric energy. The Egyptians placed them in pairs at temple entrances, symmetrical positioning, network nodes, just like Tesla wanted to build multiple Wardenclyffe Towers to create a global wireless network. If the pyramids were generating power through resonance, concentrating electromagnetic energy in their chambers, and if wireless transmission using the Earth is possible, what were the obelisks for? The official answer is purely symbolic. Religious monuments, representations of sun rays, tributes to pharaohs. But why transport them? Why would Romans haul 100-ton granite monoliths across the Mediterranean, through deadly storms, risking ships and lives just for decoration? Why would Egypt give them away as diplomatic gifts in the 1800s? Why would receiving nations go to extraordinary expense and effort to transport and erect them in their most prominent public squares? Unless they knew something. Unless there was a functional reason these specific structures needed to be in specific locations. I can't prove they were receivers in a global power network. I can't prove the pyramids were power plants. I can't prove ancient Egyptians had wireless transmission technology, but I can show you the pattern. Pyramids aren't unique to Egypt. They're global. Sudan has somewhere between 220 and 255 pyramids, more than Egypt, which has around 118 to 138. Think about that. The country nobody associates with pyramids has nearly twice as many as the country famous for them. The Nubian pyramids at Meroe, built by the kingdom of Kush starting around 300 BCE. Smaller than Giza, yes. Steeper angle, about 70 degrees compared to Giza's 51.5, but pyramids nonetheless, sophisticated structures, precisely aligned. When you visit Meroe, when you see them stretching across the desert in perfect rows, you realize these weren't crude imitations. These were engineered, people who understood exactly what they were doing. Central America has an estimated 1,000 pyramids spread across what's now Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, and Belize. The Maya built hundreds. The Aztecs built more. Teotihuacan with its Pyramid of the Sun. Chichen Itza with its massive step pyramid. Tikal, Palenque, Uxmal, Calakmul. Massive stone pyramids across an entire continent. Thousands of miles from Egypt. No contact according to mainstream history. No cultural exchange. No trade routes. No shared knowledge. Yet the same basic design principles. The same mathematical proportions showing up again and again. China has burial mounds that some researchers claim are pyramids, though the exact count is disputed because the Chinese government restricts access to most of them. The White Pyramid of Xi'an appears in aerial photographs from the 1940s taken by U.S. Air Force pilots. Massive. Potentially larger than Giza, based on those images, but nobody's allowed near it. No excavation, no official acknowledgement. It sits there in satellite imagery, visible from space, and nobody talks about it. Different cultures, different continents, separated by oceans, different time periods spanning thousands of years, all building pyramids. Why? The official answer is that pyramid shapes are structurally stable, easy to build with primitive tools, natural architectural progression. But that doesn't explain the precision. It doesn't explain why the Great Pyramid is aligned to true north within 3/60,000ths of a degree. It doesn't explain the astronomical correlations. It doesn't explain why pyramids around the world share identical mathematical proportions. The golden ratio, pi. Advanced geometry that supposedly primitive builders shouldn't have known. And it doesn't explain why the Great Pyramid concentrates electromagnetic energy. Unless they were all part of the same system. Unless the knowledge was global. Unless whoever built these structures understood something about energy, about resonance, about the Earth's electrical properties that we're only beginning to rediscover now. We're starting to reinvent it. In 2007, MIT demonstrated Witricity, wireless electricity transmission using resonant magnetic coupling. They powered a 60-watt light bulb from 7 feet away with 40% efficiency. The technology works. It's real. We're using it in wireless phone chargers right now. We're reinventing what Tesla tried to build in 1901. What if Tesla was reinventing something even older? Here's the pattern that keeps appearing. Ancient technology that worked. Compressed air vehicles in the early 1900s. Cars running on nothing but compressed air. Demonstrated, patented, exhibited at world's fairs, then disappeared. Never scaled, never mass-produced. Pneumatic tube networks. Paris operated 427 kilometers of pneumatic tubes for 118 years. New York had 27 miles, handling 30% of the city's mail, fast, efficient, reliable. All shut down after World War I, never restarted, demolished, forgotten. Tesla's wireless power, Wardenclyffe Tower demolished, research confiscated, technology abandoned. Technologies that make energy cheap, abundant, and decentralized keep getting killed before they can scale. Maybe for legitimate reasons. Maybe they weren't practical. Maybe they couldn't compete economically. Maybe the infrastructure costs were too high, or maybe someone profits from keeping energy expensive and controlled. I'm not saying I can prove there was a global pyramid power network using obelisks as receivers. I can't. But I can prove the pyramid concentrates electromagnetic energy. That's peer-reviewed science published in 2018 in the Journal of Applied Physics. I can prove granite contains piezoelectric quartz. That's geology. I can prove Tesla demonstrated wireless power transmission. That's documented history. I can prove 28 ancient Egyptian obelisks made of piezoelectric granite are standing in strategic locations around the world. That's archaeology. The question is whether these pieces connect. If there was a global wireless power network that made energy free and abundant, what happened to it? Well, the book I'm working from suggests the knowledge was lost during a cataclysmic event. The same event that buried first floors under streets in the mud flood evidence. The same event that caused the year without a summer in 1816. I can't prove that. But I can point out that history is full of lost knowledge. Technologies that existed, worked, and then vanished. Roman concrete lasted 2,000 years. We only figured out the formula in 2023. They used a specific type of volcanic ash that creates a self-healing crystalline structure when exposed to seawater. The Romans knew this. We forgot for 2 millennia. The Greeks built the Antikythera mechanism around 100 BCE, an analog computer with 37 bronze gears predicting astronomical positions, eclipses, and planetary movements. We didn't build anything that complex again until the 14th century. 1,400 years of lost capability. Damascus steel, created between 1100 and 1700 CE. Swords that could cut through European blades. The exact forging process was lost by 1750. We still don't fully understand how they achieved those properties. Greek fire, the Byzantine Empire's secret weapon, a liquid that burned on water. The formula was so closely guarded that when the empire fell in 1453, the knowledge died with it. We still don't know the exact composition. Knowledge gets lost, not just through catastrophe, sometimes deliberately, sometimes because the people who knew how to do something died without passing it on. Sometimes because a new ruling power decided certain knowledge was dangerous. Civilizations fall, technologies disappear, libraries burn, sometimes deliberately, sometimes through catastrophe, sometimes both. The pyramid concentrates electromagnetic energy. That's proven. The obelisks are standing. That's visible. The precision is undeniable. That's measurable. Tesla proved wireless power works. That's historical fact. We're told these are tombs, religious monuments, decorations, symbols. But what if there's something else entirely? What if the 28 obelisks weren't trophies or gifts at all? What if they were positioned exactly where they needed to be? Network nodes in a global system we've forgotten how to use? What if the real question isn't whether this technology existed, but why we were taught it didn't? The evidence is there. The obelisks are standing. The pyramids remain. The 2018 study is published and available. Maybe it's time we started asking why.